Words cannot express my love for Florida and for all of you. Whether you're visiting, a native Florida man like me, or if this paradise is a reward for a life well lived elsewhere, we're glad you're here. Some of you are future Florida women and Florida men. Ponce de Leon famously traversed this land looking for the fountain of youth, and more recent arrivals have completed that adventure. We call it the Villages. Seminole winds whisper through our river of grass, still home to swamp monsters like gator, bear, even the Florida panther, though a different breed of cougar does roam the streets of Palm Beach. Today, our young and bright minds build great companies, share life-changing innovations, and launch our best beyond the stars and into the heavens. In recent years, I've traded far too many days in the swamps of my beloved Florida for the swamp of Washington, D.C. And if you haven't noticed, I've directed a little sunshine into some pretty dark spaces. I don't think I'm going to be on Christopher Wray's Christmas card list, or John Durham's, and maybe not Kevin McCarthy's either. And you know what? That's all right with me. Earlier this year, we put the speaker and the world on notice. No more cheerfully presiding over American decline on our watch. No more messaging bills, no more press releases devoid of action, no more bluster and bullshit masquerading as bravado. The House of Representatives is the people's house, and the establishment has learned in vote after vote that the low energy, low IQ, low T husks of humans don't work here anymore. Now I roll with Byron Donalds and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Anna Paulina Luna and Lauren Boebert and many more. And of course, we ride or die with President Donald John Trump. We have a nation, a culture, a people to save, and there is not a second to waste. But we cannot do it alone, and so I have to ask you, are you ready for what comes next? Joe Biden just activated 3,000 reservists. Sleepy Joe, who promised us that he was going to be like the national sedative, is now exporting cluster munitions to Ukraine. We are still demining cluster munitions in Laos 50 years later. It's a terrible thing. A president who most days cannot find his pants should not be able to sleepwalk the United States of America into a war with a nuclear power. So I need you to help me get this nation to focus. Defeating Russia in the Donbas is not as important as ensuring that the dollar defeats the yuan for all of your future. Your leaders obsess over these broke-down Russian tanks oceans away, but they ignore the Chinese conversion of Cuba to a high-tech launching pad for chaos in our homeland. Are you ready for the change in pace in today's economy? Most sixth graders will have jobs in the future economy that don't even exist today. The skills I developed in school, memorization, LexisNexis research, technical writing, quite soon those skills will be less useful than John Fetterman. So I need you to view your personal skills stack as operatives and warriors in this movement as the most important portfolio that you could ever manage. If you aren't an online warrior, become one. If you don't know how to use the most modern communications and election technology, learn it. If you're not ballot harvesting yet, there are people here you can collaborate with who will teach you. Let's get on the balls of our feet. Let's get on the front end of this fight. I need you sharing videos, creating content, knocking on doors, making phone calls, and organizing your communities and your churches and your social networks like your life depends on it, because it does. When we endeavor on these things, are you ready to be targeted? Because you will be. Know that. Accept it. Get zen with it. But I don't just sit around taking punches. I've learned to dish a few out. Recently, Chris Christie attacked me for asking tough questions of the FBI director who was Christie's personal lawyer during Bridgegate. You know when I stopped being afraid of COVID? When Chris Christie beat COVID. Almost nobody's going to get beat by Chris Christie in the upcoming, Chris Christie's not going to beat that many people in the upcoming election. So if he beat COVID, there wasn't anything. I was out karaoke bars the very next day. Are you ready? Not just to endure the left, but to confront them in the battle space of discourse? The left's ideas, their platforms, their candidates, heck, even some of their women just grow more sterile with every self-loathing iteration. Like, the way to respond to sterility is virality. This is an activist conference, so be active, be energetic, be useful, and tell people what you think as you mobilize. Everything right now is so dead and boring and lame and trans. Heck, even the trans want to change. And even though a bunch of you here aren't old enough to drink yet, you were not happy with that Bud Light Dylan Mulvaney thing. But look, in these days, he could have been the new Barbie. Speaking of which, there's this big online debate raging right now, and I just want to settle as one true north for the nature of truth itself. Margot Robbie is not mid. A 10 is a 10, even with Common Core math. The Bible tells us, be not afraid. I know that part. Whether it's the ATF, FBI, DOJ, Christopher Wray, John Durham, I'm not afraid to ask the tough questions, to demand answers, and to show these people for what they are when they try to lie and cheat and steal away the promise of our beloved America. This is not the Lincoln Douglas Debating Society or the neighborhood civility brunch. This is a fight to save the greatest country that has ever existed. And so here is my charge to all of you, to all of my colleagues in the Congress. Join the ranks of the firebrands or get out of our way. Turn to God. Sometimes it feels every day like everything out there exists to take our power away from us. They shadow ban us online. They hunt us in real life. But the power of God is almighty, and you will never be more powerful than when you lean on Him. God's love does not halt for the limitations of man, and God's reach does not stop at the schoolhouse gates. In the coming days, I will introduce a national prayer in school law so that in every classroom in America, there will be time for students to pray if they choose. And you know what? This beautiful new Supreme Court that President Trump gave us just might uphold a constitutional law like that based on the values that this country was built on. In these fights, we must also turn to each other. We are one family, one movement, one nation, our brother's keeper. Turn to your country proudly with reverence and love. America is the greatest assembly of humanity in history. Don't you ever let some childish athlete or spoiled celebrity or socialist politician ever tell you otherwise. Now, these are abnormal times, my friends. And so I've come to Turning Point to recruit abnormally tough operatives in this battle for America, and it is a battle for America, not a battle for Crimea, not a battle for some sand dune in Syria or some mire pile in Mogadishu. America first, always and forever. See, some say that America is a constitution or an idea, but America is not an idea. America is a place. America is our home, and we must protect our home. I know as we look out over the economy that Biden has presided over, the degradation of our energy industry, the unspeakable violations of our social norms that we can barely discuss in polite company, I know the present is tough, but take this to the bank, my friends. The future is ours. This nation will not be a gerontocracy much longer. I am ready to win again, winning so much that we get tired of it. After all, isn't that what you were promised? You better be ready. I'm ready to fight, and it is the honor of my life to fight for each and every one of you. I am the only Republican in the Congress that takes no lobbyist money, no PAC money. I work for you, not them. Come fight with me. Go to mattgaetz.com and let's go get them.